Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Lucas Van Engen, star of the HBO series We Own This City. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Hi, you're so pleasant. You're already happy. This is good. It all goes downhill from here. I'm just kidding.
No, I heard star of, and I'm like, oh, really? I am? I'm good. Okay, we're in.
Listen, you're in the Wikipedia entry. That is the most. That means you're a star.
Forget John Bernthal.
Yeah. We'll get to him too in a second. But you're a Midwest guy. You're from South Bend, Indiana.
South Bend, Indiana. Yeah.
Born and raised.
Born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. Went to school at a small school in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, I'm actually originally from Chicago, so I can relate to that Midwest feel.
The city of Chicago?
The city of Chicago. Well, I was born in the city of Chicago.
Yes.
But then I was raised in the suburbs, in the south suburbs.
All right. Which suburb? Just because I probably know it.
Country Club Hills, Illinois.
Okay, very good. No, Chicago was my big city growing up. That was where, if you went to the city, we went to Chicago. So
okay, that makes sense. I mean, because South Bend's not that far from Chicago anyway.
Hour and a half.
Yeah. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
So wait, so how far are you guys from Detroit then?
South Bend to Detroit, maybe 4 hours, I think.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize
it's a little different, because you have to go pretty far east to get to Detroit.
This is correct. And so let's talk about from South Bend to your big city with Chicago. Did you start your acting career in Chicago? Did you did it start there or?
No, that's a good question. So my brother came to New York ahead of me, and he went to the production side of things right away. But I asked him what I should do. I'm like, I want to be an actor. Where should I go? And he said, well, all due respect to Chicago, if you go to Chicago, there's a certain ceiling there. If you go to LA, you won't know anyone there, and it's a huge place. If you go to New York, I'll be there, and there's no glass ceiling there. So I chose New York.
Because a lot of people will choose. I've obviously been in New York and LA, and a lot of people choose those two cities for different reasons. I mean, you having your brother there obviously is a great connection. But some people feel like the sky's like LA may be the best place to do it. A lot of people don't realize that New York is not just theater.
Yeah. So actually, I did come out to do musical theater, and I did like a tour of a children's musical in California when I first got here, and but I could not compete with musical theater actors out here. And when I dropped musical theater and became, for lack of a better phrase, straight actor, that's what they call it. It was like a breath of fresh air, and that's when things started picking up for me, and when I really started to enjoy myself too. And at that point, then I started going, well, wait a minute, I'm doing all the stuff I love to do is on camera. Should I be in LA? And I struggled with that all the time. And fortunately for me, I had coaches who encouraged me to stay in New York. And that's what I now share with people. It's like, stay in the city you love. I mean, within reason. And now even more so, because now everything's self-tape, right? So self-tape audition. So you can live in Oklahoma and be auditioning in New York. But I stayed in the city I love. And about 5 years ago, it just exploded. Maybe a little bit more than that. It went from like 3 shows when I got out here, you're on Law and Order or Broadway or nobody knows you. And then to like 55 shows pre-pandemic we're shooting here.
Wow.
And I don't know what the number has been since, but I remember going into the pandemic, there were 55 shows shooting in New York. Unbelievable.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then for you have I guess a pay it forward approach because you have the Brownstone class.
I'm big on pay it forward.
Yeah.
So a lot of the help I've gotten just in life has been about helping others as a way of recovering and being a better person and feeling better, right? So it happened really gradually and naturally. I had a self-tape setup that was really good, and a lot of my friends were using it, but so many of my friends were using it so often I had to start charging for it. And then, most people, I lost a couple friends over that, but most people were okay with it. And
that's fair to do. Why wouldn't they agree to that? I don't understand that. Yeah.
They thought the price was too high, and I thought the price was just right. So I just stopped talking to them. It's terrible.
It is what it is.
I guess. Boundaries. Okay. So
I'm sorry, listening.
I'm sorry I said that in a public forum. So then people started sending people to me, and then they started asking me about class, and I started teaching on Zoom during the pandemic. When my friend Adam Smith contacted me, he said, listen, I bought enough gear to shoot a feature film, and then the pandemic hit, what can we do together? And as soon as we could, we started teaching in person. It's just been a huge part of my life that I really love.
This is the quote that I really liked that was included about the Brownstone class. The goal is that everyone that comes to his classes will eventually have to miss class because they booked paid work.
Oh, thanks for reading that. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
I've been in a lot of classes where you enter the class and you enter a codependent relationship with the teacher, and it becomes about the teacher keeping you there. And I was speaking for myself, and as I sort of learned everything that teacher had to teach me, then I became a tool for that teacher to teach the other kids. And it was frowned upon to leave or miss a class. And so I learned a lot from my teachers about what to do and a lot what I don't want to do. And what I don't want to do is create that relationship where people feel like they're disappointing me if they don't show up. Like, it's on you. This is your career. I'm here to help. Let's do this. But miss class, come to class. I don't care,
what you have to do. But what you're saying right now, actually, it's profoundly, like, you can actually apply that even to people that work in corporate America. There are times when you can be so good at your job that you're actually not promoted, or you're not allowed to grow, and you're stagnant because the person is essentially using you.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I think people should pay attention to what you just said.
I appreciate that.
So let's talk about We Own This City.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about Leo Wise. Let's talk about your role.
Great. I got to meet him, and
oh, really?
Yeah. So about halfway through, I'm kicking myself that I didn't look this up in time for today. I met an actual lawyer on the case, was playing himself in a scene opposite me. I want to say his last name was Brown. And he said he knew Leo, and I'm like, Leo, would you mind? And he goes, yeah, I'll text him right now. And within 2 days, I was having dinner with Leo at his place. He's an incredible person. So it's really fascinating to me, this whole story and the actual story that they're telling. And Leo is a huge part of that. What I love about Leo is that he's actually committed to social justice in a big way, like in his core. When I met him, I'm like, oh, this is a man who believes in what he does. And he loves Baltimore deeply. So he would take me around Baltimore, and he would show me stuff and talk about the case and talk about other cases and how he got started. And it all had to do with social justice, really. And a lot of it was advocating for underserved citizens. And a lot of those citizens had drug raps because that's the neighborhood they grew up in, and they didn't have another option. And so part of what he did, as it does unfold in this story, is represent people and ask the jury to overlook drug raps and believe the victims over these cops. It's a big ask, and he was able to do it.
And that must have put him in an incredibly difficult place, because it's kind of like you're going against, people that you're on the wrong side from the point of the malignant cops and how they're bad actors. But it's like he's willing to stand on his own and just say, like, this is just not right. That has been very difficult.
I wonder. I mean, I didn't ask him that, or we didn't get to that exactly. So I don't want to speak for him in a place that I didn't get a right answer, but an actual answer. But what I do know is he wasn't necessarily, bringing down bad acting cops as a living. He got brought into this case when it was when they didn't know what it was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's my understanding of it. And it blossomed into, that's an unfortunate word, but it blew up into what it is now. And he's still prosecuting people to this day that are still, this is just the beginning. This story is just the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but watching this show and just the realism in it and just seeing how these people were just railroaded and just attacked, it was just so sad to see, because I think that a lot of times I mean, of course, again, we're talking about a very special circumstance. We want to believe that cops are always going to be on the right side of the law. But in this particular instance, it just was not that at all. And you're watching these people where sometimes you just blindly might believe that somebody's guilty, but then when you start to see the inner workings of the case or the situation, I mean, this person was targeted.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think David Simon and George Pelecanos and Justin Fenton, who wrote the original book, I think I'm representing them correctly when I say that those cops acting that way were a symptom of a much greater system that's already in place. Starting with, quote, the war on drugs.
Right.
And it's said very clearly in the series at some point. Maybe I shouldn't say it because I don't think that episode has been released yet. But what the exact nature of what that means and what the real outcome of that is.
Well, I mean, we see who Sergeant Wayne Jenkins becomes.
Yeah.
We start to see these people become these characters. So yeah, your corruption can begin with something that, it can be taught. So
yeah, and I'll just interject one little thing to put a finer point on it. I read an article heading. I didn't read the article, and they're like, David Simon says all cops are bad, and that really does a disservice to what he's doing, I believe. And there's a lot of nuance in this story and a lot of complicated factors and stuff that we don't have answers to. And just, when you watch the series, just notice that the first two cops to break the entire story are good acting cops. And then we quickly leave them to follow the others. But and all along the way this came to justice was people acting in good faith. So there are both, right? But and
there's a lot to, obviously that's an entire discussion that can be had. So I noticed that a lot of the characters from David Simon's The Wire did return to the script. I mean, they're not playing the same people, obviously they're in different positions, but it's interesting to see some of these people grown up and also just playing being on the police force and everything. So can you talk about your experience, or did they give you any I guess tips about being in Baltimore?
I didn't get to play with a lot of the Wire people, really. So most of my scenes took place with Dagmara Dominczyk and Don Harvey. And then I did interview those guys who came through one after another, and some of them were on the Wire. But mostly I was just on my own in Baltimore, figuring it out for my own. So, but I had a good time in Baltimore and really came to appreciate it while I was there too.
That's great. And then you said before, once you start, you get that role, they just keep rolling in and everything just sort of changes almost in an instant. Can you talk about what that's like to just go from maybe just maybe you're a working actor, but where it's like, whoa, like everything is here now, or I've got this great role and I've landed this big series. Like, what's that shift like when you feel like you've arrived, or what role made you feel that way?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't feel like I've arrived. I feel like
you don't think so?
Oh no. I wish I felt that way.
Then we get lazy when we do that.
I know I'm not the only actor who feels that way too at this level. It's like, the real feeling is, am I ever going to work again? That's the real feeling. And I think a lot of actors have that. And I'll say, so there's like a lot of different answers to that. I'll try to keep it concise. The easiest answer is it didn't happen quickly at all. I've been at this, hitting the pavement for 20 years, bartending and auditioning and making stuff work and trying to make it work and trying to show up for auditions after a long night of bartending, all these things, right? So my path has really been 20 years, and I got City on a Hill in a very what's a magical way. My commercial agent got me the audition and I booked it, and that gave me a little bit of name in the business to be up for something like this, I suppose. And so that was but even after I got City on the Hill, I was still working at a bar, it was,
really?
oh yes. Oh yeah. It's a very it's a very gradual process, you know. It's a really, people think like, oh, I saw you in that article and you're doing that, you made it. And I'm like, cool, come see me at the bar tonight and I'll get you a free drink.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, thanks for being honest about that. I think people should know that, you know, we still have to not only work, but just work on our crafts. And like, there's always, you know, there are steps to this. Doesn't happen. Yeah.
It's a real gradual process for most people. And even the ones that it seems like it's fast have been at it for a long time, or they grew up in a family that does this and were shown the ropes that way.
No, that's fair too.
Yeah.
I think again, I would love if we can tell us how people can join your acting class. And are you still doing the Zoom sessions as well? So can they be in Oklahoma? And
that's a good question. Maybe I will develop a Zoom version that I could teach separately or as part of the class. But in the meantime, if you're in New York, thebrownstoneclass.com, and you can look us up at Instagram, the Brownstone Class, and we'd be happy to have you. It'd be awesome. And I also noticed I was trying to set up the back end software for it, and I'm like, oh, they have a stream in service. Like maybe we could, you know, like I don't know.
No, you know, you're thinking on your feet, because I mean, a lot of people, I mean, some people came out of the pandemic. It's really interesting, like really great, and just inventing new ideas and just ways to make things work. And then, of course, for a lot of people, it has been deeply frustrating. So the fact that you were able to develop this concept in this time is actually quite interesting, you know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it was kind of a necessity, right? Like I couldn't bartend. I was doing what I loved. I thank God for unemployment, because it gave me the safety net to develop this. And for me, one thing led to another, and you know, my survival job went from bartending to this, and then I booked We Own This City at the same time. So it's been a real blessing. I feel very lucky.
Absolutely, that's wonderful. Well, you know, it's serendipitous in ways, but lucky is just, I almost say that it's not earned. So maybe just
let's say luck is opportunity meets preparation.
Yes, I like that one. So are you working on anything specifically that you would like to talk about as well, outside of the show?
No, I am working on doing these interviews for the show, and waiting for my next audition to come in and my next opportunity to come in. My wife is working on several shows
she's an actress too.
She's an actor and a writer, so she's creating her own work right now, and she's
Nice.
got really close on a couple of big things that could really take off. So I'm excited for her. Between running the class and auditioning, it's a full-time schedule. So.
Absolutely, I can see that. Well, I thank you so much for your time. This is actually a very, very interesting, a very interesting interview, because you know, you've got a lot of things going on, and actually I find it, I respect that you've been incredibly honest. You're not trying to paint or sugarcoat some sort of story. You're telling us exactly how it is, and I think this is something that a working actor needs to see, more so than saying, "Oh, and I just landed the job." It's like, no, I was bartending. Come see me, you know. So
I appreciate
we gotta hear that.
I'll put one more little story on that, and that's that at the red carpet, I was getting interviewed, and they said, what drew you to this story? You know, and I just kind of was like, what drew me? Well, David Simon's vision. I started bullshitting, and I thought about it that night, and I'm like, why didn't I just, what's wrong with the truth? The truth is I was lucky enough to audition for this and lucky enough to get booked to be a part of this incredible story. The truth is I had an opportunity and it worked out, you know?
Yeah, no, I know.
I hope to be in the position soon where I'm able to choose the projects I'm a part of, but this one was very serendipitous, as you say. I don't want to overstay my welcome, but I did a lot of work during the pandemic, on the subject matter of this film, on myself and with others, and it was serendipitous that I booked this.
I love this for you. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Yeah, it really is. Like, I mean, you I don't want to say you rarely see, like, there's just a way, like, you know, when people are truly grateful in their moment, you know, you can, it resonates. So you see it, you know, so I feel that in you, and I'm just so happy for you and your family.
Well, you're lovely, and I love your Instagram, and I loved your talk about Will Smith. It was perfect.
I'm like, what are you gonna do? Slap me too? Like, I'm just asking a question. Like, you know.
There was so many things I was watching that I was like, oh, I didn't know he slapped somebody else too.
Yes.
Oh no.
And then you look it up and it's true. Like I like I don't like to talk out of turn and just say things as a say
No,
things.
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you just, listen, this happened. So this is showing a pattern of behavior.
So let's talk about it. Yeah.
Oh my God, you cracked me up. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Lucas Van Engen, star of the HBO series We Own This City. He said he doesn't want to overstay his welcome. He is gonna be he's gonna do just fine.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time, and you take care. Hilarious.
You take care too.
And you guys, go ahead and sign up for his acting class.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.